Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the year for Fan Fuel Motorsports Podcast, the podcast where fans fuel talk about motorsports. Welcome in, always, my co-hosts Colton Cranmore and Nathan Ball. I am Alex Harrington, as always, and Jared Bakaiza, who seems to be missing a lot more shows than I do. I heard Colton nagging me about that the last two shows that I missed because of work and going on vacation. He is at an NHL game, I believe, watching the Blues hopefully beat the Penguins because nobody likes the Penguins. Sorry, Jared. When you see this in post, you're going to get mad at me, but who cares? So, what have you guys been up to the last few weeks?
Man, I've been watching a ton of dirt racing. They had the Tulsa Shootout this past weekend. I think it was 54 hours of broadcast racing that they had over the course of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Some damn good racing. I really love the Tulsa Expo Center and what they do for the sport of dirt racing. So it was really cool to sit down and watch that. I'm stoked for the Chili Bowl this next week. Other than that, I've just been working a ton, hanging out at the house, not doing a whole lot of cleaning.
Yeah, I have not done much. I got my helmet wrapped, which is kind of cool. Came out pretty good. The stripes are a little bit crooked, so hopefully maybe in between the two seasons for Rental League, I can get that fixed. But other than that, everything's come out pretty good. And I just argue on Twitter until the Rolex starts. So
yeah, I think I did a little bit of arguing on Twitter today myself. But go ahead and show your helmet. I see you got it right there in front of you. For those who haven't seen it on Twitter, give us a tour.
Yeah, so I put the Fan Fuel Motorsports text on the visor. There's going to be a little sticker that goes here. I think it's like 2 centimeters height or 2 inches in the height and then 1.5 inches in diameter. Or no, sorry, just probably the opposite. I'd have to look that up again. Other than that, it's like a 3-stripe pattern. It's really simple. It came out pretty good. The only thing is the stripes are a little bit crooked. They're like kind of off-center, so hopefully I can get that fixed soon. But until then, this is what it's going to look like. So if you live near, let's just say anywhere in Central Florida, West Florida, if you want to go to Bushnell Motorsports Park and race the rental carts, I'll probably be there most of the time. So just look for the rainbow colored helmet with the off-center stripes, and that's probably going to be my permanent design. So
yeah, so Nathan, you may have stolen a little bit of your favorite driver's identity as inspiration for that helmet. It's a really clean helmet. It's really simple, and I love that kind of stuff. And I think we're trolling on YouTube with the comments. Is there really even a West Florida? So Colton, what do you mean by that?
Well, I meant to post that to the private.
Yeah, that's what I'm just
I didn't see what one I was on there. What is Florida, like 40 miles wide?
Probably like 100. A little more.
It's not quite wide enough to have a West Florida.
The West Coast. There's 2 coasts.
Yeah. Come on. Well, obviously we're not good at geography and stuff because I'm pretty sure most of us
geography.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we think of Wyoming, we probably thought it was somewhere else. I don't know.
No, I know what Wyoming is.
I know where it is too. It's just you sometimes forget about it. It's so tiny.
Wyoming? We're the 9th biggest state.
Maybe by size. I'm talking about population.
Alaska, Texas, Montana, California. Shoot.
Yeah, Colorado's a little bit bigger than us.
Yeah. It's just
a plain old population too. We got like 20 years till we hit 1 million people.
Population.
Oh wow, 1 million people.
Yeah, our
that's gonna be big for you guys.
We got more people than that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big milestone if we hit it.
Yeah. Well, you know,
what's your tallest building? I want to know that too.
What's what?
What's your tallest building?
Our tallest building is a dorm in Laramie at the University of Wyoming. I think it's 13 floors.
I lived in
that's unlucky.
Story apartment building when I grew up. I grew up in a condo that's 21 stories.
There are, fun fact, there are only 2 escalators in the state of Wyoming. Both of them are in Casper.
Huh.
Yep.
Well, damn. That's a very neat thing. I guess you guys
can just go to like a shopping mall and find one here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or like an airport or.
Yep, ain't shit.
Don't take your escalators for granted.
Yeah, no. Talking about escalators. So, for me, I went to see Myra's family in Mexico as you do when you're in really good, healthy relationships. And to get there, it's about a 24-ish hour drive from my house all the way down to their house. And I had to make it more complicated because that's just what I do with my life. And I did not get my passport renewed until the day that we left. I had to be in New Orleans at X time in the morning. I drove 6 hours, slept in the car in the parking garage, and then I took probably, I don't know, 30 minutes trying to figure out where the hell I was going to get to the passport office. You have to go into this mall, and then you have to go behind some of the stores in the mall to another elevator to go up, and then you get popped out right there. Stressful day. We spent like 8 hours there waiting for my passport to be done, and then I just chugged all the way down to central Mexico, basically. And then I had to do that on the way back. So I was in the car for probably 4 days straight. Yeah. Other than that, I hope everybody had good Christmases, good New Year's celebrations. I hope everybody stayed safe from all the COVID stuff. Probably won't have to be dealing with that for too much longer. At least I'm hoping. I obviously not a scientist of epidemiology, but damn, it's been 2 really long ass fucking years, and I'm tired of that shit. So let's go ahead and get on to what FanFuel's doing in this 2022 season. So we got a bunch of new stuff. Let's get into our website. We're going to have 2 new sections on our website. We're going to have an esports section and a fantasy section. So we're going fantasy NASCAR racing, and for fantasy NASCAR, we'll have 2 ways to play. Now, Jared, who is not here today, is going to be hosting our main kind of 20-plus person league that he's come up with. It's basically fantasy football, but for NASCAR. He's going to have 2 conferences with 2 divisions, each with 4 or 5 teams in them, and players will draft teams in a snake order just like you would in regular fantasy football and make trades and play through 3 separate seasons during the regular NASCAR seasons. He's even got small playoff brackets during the seasons. So we have a spring, summer, and fall champion. It's going to be really interesting. We will have the whole thing and its rule book up on fanfuelmotorsports.com when the time comes for the season so that you can download that and play that with your friends. And if you want to play a little bit simpler and a little bit less competitively, we have the Pick 4 Fantasy Series returning. If you don't know what that is something that my dad and I have put on Reddit and Facebook over the years. We took a little bit of a hiatus with these COVID years because we didn't have qualifying and stuff like that. But we'll be back, and it is going to be six race rounds. So basically 6 rounds through the 36 races. Everybody has to pick 4 drivers each week. They can only use drivers once per round, and each of these drivers will be grouped into one of 4 groups of 7 drivers, which means you have 1 left over. And that's a lot of information that is probably a little bit complicated, but once we get the rules out on the website, you'll understand a lot of that. And before we go on into another thing that I'm really excited about in our esports stuff, I think Colton's got an announcement for us as well.
Yeah, so in 2022, we're actually going to bring you guys a second podcast. We will be doing a dirt podcast. There will be more info to come on that as far as the name, the date that we will be recording, et cetera, et cetera. But Jared Bakaisa and I will be talking everything dirt, probably once a week, I think is what we're shooting for. So keep an eye out for that, especially with the shootout that just happened, the Chili Bowl coming up. We'll have a lot to talk about even in that first episode. I think we're looking for end of February, early March, sort of right around maybe a couple weeks into the Outlaw season. That way we can give you guys some great content and really indulge everyone in the world of dirt so that Jared and I just aren't the only experts here. We'll do the same we do with FanFuel, kind of be shorter episodes. We'll try to have as many guests as we can as well to talk about it. It's gonna be super fun. And it's especially if you guys know dirt at all, NASCAR races once a week with an off week. World Outlaws has 93 scheduled events this year just for the sprint cars. That's not counting late models. That's not counting any other midgets or any kind of random one-offs that may happen here and there.
And those Super Dirt series, there's only 3 of them, and that's just scratching the surface on dirt racing. So You guys are going to have a lot to cover. And people like Nathan are going to have a lot to learn about the glorious thing that is short track dirt racing. So that's going to be good. So is there any other series or big events that you're looking forward to covering other than the World of Outlaw stuff?
Oh man. You know, I'm gonna have to play that one by ear because mostly up until this point, I've only really ever followed the Outlaw Sprint cars. I've never really dove into the late models quite as much. I know about a lot of the drivers in the series, so I'll have to kind of learn that. Obviously, I'm a big midget fan, so obviously the Chili Bowl is one of my biggest events of the year. The Belleville Dirt Nationals is obviously another big one. As far as individual events, I'm gonna have to see what comes up because I'm getting into the broad spectrum of dirt with a lot of new people at this point.
Well, hell yeah. I'm glad to kind of sit here and watch your guys' journey because I know last year was the first year for Jared in dirt, and he fell in love with it so much that he approached you so that you guys could make this podcast, and I think that's pretty cool. So he's also just scratching the surface with the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series. So we'll have to get you guys in on the broader spectrum of some of the stuff. I'm talking about UMP dirt modifieds and big block modifieds, super late models, different crate events, stuff like wild stuff like the Topless 100 that goes on in Batesville, Arkansas, where they take the 10 tops off of the super late models and go for 100 laps. It's crazy. Speed Weeks is even more intense when you're a dirt fan, and it doesn't just take place on one racetrack, and it's not just with one series. There's about 4 series that are racing between World of Outlaw and Lucas Oil in Florida and Georgia for Speed Weeks. And I'm telling you, you guys are going to have your work cut out for you, but it should be a fun ride. So hell yeah. And for me, I'm going to have my work cut out for me as well, because I am going to take on an initiative to have some other people join us in an initiative to have esports. And you can see the car behind me. I ran that in the All-American ARCA Series this past season. And a couple of my teammates from that, Shane Gentry and Terry Frayer, as well as Nick, who you guys saw earlier on the podcast this year. We're doing a lot of different things. We've got some announcements to come with an overarching big event thing. But really, we've got the FanFuel Grand National Series coming, which is an Xfinity Series league on iRacing. And if you did not know or do not remember us posting anything about it, we do have the Winter Beach Day 400 this week. And that is an ARCA at Daytona race that will be paying $175 to win, that we're sponsoring. Prizes for second, third, fourth, fifth, and a couple of different superlatives are going on. And I did want to say we've got 20 plus spots left for that race. And if you're watching tonight and you have an iRacing account, put your iRacing name in the comments on Facebook, and the first four people to do that will have their entry fee paid. Tomorrow we will be doing another special show here on FanFuel with Nick for the drawing of qualifying order for Friday's qualifying events, and we'll be giving away 8 more free entry fees for the race. So we'll throw up the links on where you can watch qualifying and the race on Saturday, and we hope to see you doing that. And that's about it for most of the esports stuff. We are going to have a new tab on there. We'll be looking at our own league, the All-American ARCA Series, as I said, with our now team owner, Terry Freer over there. And also, if you guys have been on Reddit in the past, I don't know, probably since 2013, there's a little league called the Reddit iRacing League that is pretty popular over there. They run a bunch of random events every Sunday night around 9 p.m., and they will be posting their post-race content through us, so we'll have all their race recaps as well. So we'll be hosting them from now on alongside their already content that they put out on Reddit. So as far as that pretty much sums up our esports initiative for 2022. Now, Nathan, I guess it's time to go into some of FanFuel's 2022 goals.
Oh, so yeah. So when it comes to goals, we've got a couple big goals, particularly with our content and our media. When it comes to media, we mean like social media, engagement, interactions, all that kind of stuff. So it looks like we are at 166 followers on Twitter right now. That's the only part I run. Colton runs the Facebook, and then everything else when it comes to the podcast is up to Alex and Jared, podcast and the website. So what me and Colton are going to try and do is we're going to try and do 1,500 followers by the end of the year with Facebook and Twitter. For the most part, it seems like we're pretty meshed together on the same page. It means that we're going to be out there all the time. We can't always post videos. We can't always do everything because we're going to have to take care of copywriting and all that kind of stuff the bigger we get. So we're still going to be doing questions every day in the off season. We're going to be trying to do some cool, maybe some just surveys, polls, all that kind of stuff that'll keep you interacted. I know in a couple of weeks I might try and get to the Rolex 24 test session, so there could be some videos and pictures there from the track for you guys. Every time that we're at a race, any of the four of us, we could bring you some pictures, videos, all that kind of stuff that'll be on the main account. So we're not going to be dead, even though we're growing.
Yeah, and as far as at track stuff, we would love to have some of you guys engage with us on Twitter, Facebook, and even at fanfuelmotorsports.com to get some content from your personal events that you go to, whether it's you're heading out to the Roar before the 24 like Nathan will be, or you're going to some little quarter mile that I've never heard of in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota. We want to hear fan stories from wherever you guys are getting your motorsports at, and even if it's something as crazy as downhill Power Wheels racing, let us know what you're doing as a motorsports fan. We have some other stuff for our website and everything like that. Drew Mason throwing up that he wants to do tweet ups. Well, of course, we will be doing that. We've got some pretty big stuff coming for a certain race about middle season this year that we'll have some more information on later. You'll probably be able to meet all four of us, including my dad and Myra, who is one of our behind the scenes personnel working on the website stuff, and also my fiance. So you'll be able to meet all of us at a certain race a little bit later this year. But as far as more website goals, we're going to get out previews, reviews, and opinions for various different series. And of course, all four of us, we love NASCAR. It's our bread and butter. But we kind of tasked ourselves with different roles about international open wheel motorsports as well as dirt stuff. And I guess you can probably already think about who's going to be tackling which of those subjects, so I won't get into it. And then, like I said, with the fans, we really want you guys to help us out with a lot of that stuff. We want to feature you and your content and your stories, whether that's just a photograph saying, hey, I went to my local short track this weekend, or hey, I went to Monster Jam in Oklahoma City and watched this stuff, stuff that we wouldn't necessarily get into. We don't get into stuff like monster trucks or motorcycle racing or supercross or drag racing on here, but that's all stuff that a lot of other motorsports fans like. So anything that you like in motorsports, this is Fan Fuel. We want you guys to fuel the talk about your favorite motorsports. With all that being said, this is kind of going to be a short show today, so we're kind of clicking on through it. I did want to look back at our 2021, the birth of Fan Fuel season, and kind of go around the room and say what our favorite moments were as far as this podcast is concerned.
Yeah, so I think I don't necessarily have a favorite moment. I could probably narrow it down, but I think the what ifs was my favorite thing to get into. Probably that first what if that we did was my absolute favorite episode that I've recorded, just with us, just because it let us dive into the topics that so many motorsports fans dive into on their own time. And so many discussions that have been had around water coolers and in shops all over the country since these events have happened. Everything, from the death of Dale Earnhardt and the speculation there. The list goes on and on. So that's probably my favorite moment, my favorite topic that we do. And of course, the guests. We've had tons of great shows, tons of great guests on. Rhino was great to have on. Keith Merrick was super fun. It was really cool to talk to Gabe and learn more about the opposite side and the Formula One. So I mean, the list goes on. I haven't had a bad guest on yet. So I have fun with every guest, but I think the what ifs is probably my favorite.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Nathan?
Those. I also enjoy, like you said, the what ifs, just because I think they're cool. Some of the subjects were really interesting. We got a lot of conversation out of them. I think we did one episode. I don't remember what it was. It was called the Over Under episode, where we would name two things, and we. Oh, hold on. We got a comment from Drew. I probably didn't see this comment. Yes.
Let me pull it up here.
Yeah.
You said Charlotte Roval Woker joke. That was the Woker joke that broke Fan Fuel.
Yeah.
That was great. I might have to go back and clip some of that. That was great.
Yeah, if you haven't watched our Charlotte Roval episode, we got feisty. I blacked out a little bit in a little bit of anger. And it was a bunch of hooping and hollering, and it worth a watch if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely up there as far as the best episodes.
Yeah, we had quite the time with Alex's rants. I know that was one of his bigger ones. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of them. I think we had some about Atlanta. We had some about all sorts of things, but that was probably one of the standouts. Because every time he starts doing it, we have to do the hashtag Alex Rants thing and make a big deal out of it. So,
yeah, flapping like Elliot's fucking bumper. I like it. I like it. That's great. Still should have gotten a penalty. God damn it.
Yeah, well, we don't need to get back into that because that's going to get us super heated. We're talking favorite moments, not least favorite moments, not the moments that could have almost torn us apart. But Jared did send in his, even though he couldn't make it today because he's going and skating around the ice rink or something with a bunch of penguins. But Woker joke was always his favorite moment of the shows because it was always a trip because it showed, I guess, the differences between all of our opinions, even though we're all passionate about the same things. And then also meeting other fans who share the same passion as us from different backgrounds. I think I could agree with that as well because we saw people this year of all different ages, all different backgrounds, and how some of them got into the sport, whether it's because they're working in the sport now or just really passionate fans like we are. Everybody's different, and we all brought together by motorsports. And I think that's pretty amazing. And one of the reasons that in the beginning, Nathan and myself wanted to launch Fan Fuel Motorsports. For me, it was definitely the Raja Caruth stream. It wound up being over 3 hours. I think we clocked in almost 4 hours because Raja decided at the last minute, even though he had said to us that he would be fine for that night, that they needed to get to Martinsville early for the late model stock race up there. And we just waited on him to get to the hotel room so he could connect with us. And somehow we made up the whole show on the spot, ad-libbing it between the three of us, trying to figure out what we could do to keep you guys entertained. A bunch of you guys stuck around. And then we had a whole show where we dialed back our insane devolvement that we got into a professional show. And we had a great interview, one of the best, if not the best of the year, as far as our NASCAR / racing personnel. Another couple of my favorite moments was having Rick on, someone I've known most of my life, and getting to celebrate the fact that he's going into the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. And then, like Dave said, Keith Merrick and then Dalton Good, a couple of the guys that were really good, wholehearted shows for multiple different reasons. So, yeah, you guys got anything else before we move on?
Yes, I do. One of the best things about the Raja episode is Colton and I were arguing for probably a little bit before he came on about chicken tenders and whether or not they're, suitable adult food. And sure enough, the first thing that Raja says about that debate is yes, like he loves chicken tenders. So if they're good enough for a driver, they're good enough for me.
I don't want to talk about that. My opinions are still as
Listen,
hard-nosed
listen.
as they were.
We're not that old, Colton, but like I
You don't have to
said
agree
on that
with it. I'm
stream,
just
that
saying you
these
gotta
guys
respect
have to grow up before they realize that chicken nuggies and chicken tendies are an option, but they're not what you go to a restaurant for. Because that was my main concern. Because they were saying stuff like going to Olive Garden or going to Chili's to get their chicken tenders. Like, unless the food sucks there, there's no reason for that to happen. There's a barbecue joint that I won't name that's around here that their barbecue is pretty bad. It's pretty shitty, but they have the best chicken tenders on the planet. So that is the only restaurant I go for chicken tenders that is not named Zaxby's or Cane's or what have you. Like you don't go to a sit down restaurant to have chicken tenders or chicken nuggets.
Man, even at Cane's, I'm just not tenders.
Man, I guarantee you, if Tyler Reddick wins a race next year and we get free chicken tenders for America, you know I'm going to Cheddar's on that Monday.
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna order myself a burger or a steak, and I'll have the chicken tendies as the appetizer.
Bro, they give you like a whole platter of them. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Have
We
you
do
seen
have-
me? I can put down a whole platter and a steak.
I mean, I could eat pretty good.
Have you guys ever had Culver's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a Culver's down the street.
Culver's is fucking outstanding. All right, let's move past that. But I went there a few weeks ago with my buddy, and he was appalled at the fact that I ordered a butter burger combo and then a chicken sandwich combo and then some mini corn dogs and scarfed it all down. So if y'all want to know my fast food eating habits, that's a whole episode. But
I mean,
Well,
they got good cheese
nonetheless,
curds.
Well,
I'm good
son,
with that.
I
I'll
think
eat
you
a
beat
whole
me.
platter and then my burger. Yeah.
See, I
Yeah,
can't
just
do
a
that.
menu hack. You can ask them, it's like, hey, I'll take a family-sized thing of cheese curds, and they'll give it to you, like a giant box of cheese curds.
Don't fucking
Yeah.
tell me that shit, Nate.
I don't
So,
want.
like, yeah, I'll
want
just go there and
cheese.
get like a
I
whole
like
thing
to
of cheese
poop.
curds.
Yeah, I don't.
Hey,
I
you
know
know
how
what?
Culver's
You know
cheese
what?
curds
I have a
go.
life hack for that. I have a life hack for that. I'm lactose intolerant, so I'll eat that stuff and still poop.
Oh, you got a cheat code.
yeah.
Oh, this is Drew Mason. We got a comment from Drew. I don't have a StreamYard account, so I can't bring these up. But
Nate, this one's for you. Drew
yeah,
says
this is
really
just a
helped.
preface. Colton asks where I know this guy. If you've probably seen this guy on Twitter. His handle is Big Rig with like 2 1s. He is a
Yeah,
huge
okay.
Christopher Bell fan, so that's
Yeah.
him. In case you guys were wondering, because I know you were saying like, who's this guy? Who's this guy always commenting?
I never made
I
that
thought you
connection.
knew that beforehand, so I was
Yeah,
like, okay, you know,
I
that's
probably did, but I never made. I know him
Right.
from the streams. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, he was saying that we've kind of helped explain a lot of the stuff about F1 or IndyCar or even sports cars, anything that relates under the open wheel umbrella, if you will. So that's our goal. We're trying to help people out, like learn everything about racing. It doesn't matter whether it's local racing, whether it's stock car racing, Indy cars, sports cars, dirt. It doesn't matter. So we're here to help you learn. Other than that,
Yeah.
I think we're getting there. I'm sure the more new fans we have, the easier it is for us to tell everyone how things work and stuff. But this was our first year, so I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but it ended up working out really good.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get some people on the other side of the coin coming in, more IndyCar Formula One fans coming in that we can teach about stock car, dirt car racing. And then also I'm going to try a little bit this year to get you guys more into supercars. They had a pretty good season this past year, but hopefully with COVID measures, hopefully breaking down a little bit, they can actually have races not at Sydney Motorsports Park for 4 weeks straight. And they'll be able to go to some of the Kiwi circuits over New Zealand because there's some phenomenal racetracks down in that part of the world. And that's definitely a series that you guys have got to watch too. And while going on into some of the stuff that we want to see, what are we most looking forward to in racing in 2022? Not necessarily from the Fan Fuel Motorsports podcast or the website. What are you guys most looking forward to in racing? This could be from any and all different series.
Oh man. I've said it about 3 or 4 times on here that I'm looking forward to it, but it is my hands down favorite event of the year is Chili Bowl. Kicks off this next Monday. They just announced all the prelim night lineups. So I am super stoked to get off of work and do nothing but watch Chili Bowl for 5-6 hours a night, 5 days a week. That's the only week of the year that I'm perfectly fine going to work, dog tired because I work at 5 a.m. at my job. I'd have no problem going to bed at 10:30. It is my favorite day. I'm throwing a big party for Chili Bowl finals on Saturday. It's going to be great. It's my favorite event of the entire year. If you guys have not ever watched the Chili Bowl, please do. Flow Racing now has changed it to where you can apply for just 1 month for $20 instead of having to pay the whole year $150. Select that as an option. Check it out. It is going to be great. They have 392 entries, including some NASCAR guys. Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, obviously Christopher Bell, 3-time winner. Kyle Larson back-to-back the last 2 years. It's going to be outstanding. Another one I'm looking forward to is my buddy Brandon from the Scrub and Tires podcast, who I've not seen him comment once on here yet. Shame on him. He has built a Legends car, and he's going to go Legends racing with the likes of Chris Eggleston, who's a former Truck Series driver, at our new local track, Colorado National Speedway, just about an hour south of me here. So I'm super stoked to help out with that. He wants me to spot, but I think I'd rather drink some beer and just hang out.
Yeah.
Do both at the same time?
No, I don't know about that.
You can't drink in the pits, and I think if I'm going to be a spotter, I have to stay in the pits.
Really? They don't let you stay on top of the grandstands or anything?
There's too many people in the grandstands. There wouldn't be any way. Yeah.
What about you, Nate? What are you looking forward to in racing this year?
Oh man, there's a lot. First of all, the Rolex 24s in a couple weeks, or not a couple weeks, 24 days, but whatever. It's still really close. It's like the biggest. It's the first really, really big pavement racing event of the year. It's always big. There's all sorts of drivers from pretty much every major series that are in this race. Lots of cars, lots of different classes. Usually a really competitive race. So.
Are you going to be able to go this year?
I'm not going to be at the 24 just because of school, and I'll be at the 500 and all that kind of stuff. But I will be at one of the testing days in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be nice to be there. Hopefully they let us in the garage this year. I'm going to have to double check and see if they do. If not, I'm still going to be there just to check out the testing for a day or two because it's only like 40 minutes from where I live. So outside of the Rolex, I'd probably say – the Indy 500 is always like the biggest thing for me. Hopefully it's on the same day as Monaco and Charlotte this year. I know Monaco was on a separate week this time, but if they're all on one day again, that's like the perfect day for me. I can just sit on the couch, watch an entire day of racing. I also really like the Southern 500 and the Bristol Night Race. So those are some more big ones on my calendar. So really, I'm kind of a sucker for crown jewel races. So those are definitely like my big events of the year.
Yeah, I think everybody's always looking forward to those big marquee events. So I could second and third all of the ones that you guys have said. But for me, the 2022 season as a whole, from NASCAR and from Formula One, being that we're going to a new generation of car in both series, just makes me really giddy to be a motorsports fan this year. The Clash is something that I'm equally terrified and excited for because when I was looking at them starting pavement, putting that down today on Twitter, I was like, wait a minute, this could be bad because if you remember back in the 70s or 80s when they had Martinsville tearing up literally during the race every time they went there with the Cup cars, they had to put that concrete down so that there wouldn't just be massive dips and everything in the track. So I'm worried that they're going to have turns coming up because it's not permanent pavement, and that's what I'm terrified about. Also, none of these teams have their 7-allotted chassis. So if they go trash one and then they have one trashed in the duels on Thursday and here in a couple of weeks, and then the 500, they could be out a serious amount of money and 3 chassis before we've even really started the racing season. So I'm a little bit worried about that. As far as other stuff, I'm looking forward to seeing Jimmy Johnson come back for the 4 IMSA Endurance events. I'm looking forward to him running a full season in IndyCar, as well as Romain Grosjean. Both of them having oval races this year is going to make me really happy. And then I'm looking forward to supercars again this year. Like I said earlier. And then are you guys looking at any form of two-wheeled motorsports? Because I am always excited about supercross. What do you guys think about two-wheeled motorsports?
Ooh, man. Like, I think they're crazy. I don't know anything about MotoGP or AMA Supercross, all that kind of stuff. But I can't help but respect them because it's something I'd probably never do. Like, I would never do it.
You know, I haven't gotten into as much at the two wheels as I probably should. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I've got a lot of buddies that really like the MotoGP, and as well as the Supercross. I'm looking at you, Jacob and Trekken. But I just never really got into it as much. I'm actually more of a fan of drag racing, I'd say, than the two-wheel.
Ooh, okay.
Interesting. I do have to ask, what appeals to you about drag racing? Because I think it's the most boring form of motorsport that there is.
Just the cars. That's all that I really watch for, is just the freak amount of work and horsepower that goes into these cars and the entire rebuild in the limited amount of time that they do. I think it's fucking awesome. And also, I'm not a huge fan of watching it on TV. If I do watch it on TV, it's usually just background noise. But as far as like being at the track, I'd put it right up there with any NASCAR race. It is amazing to go to in person.
Yeah, I've been to a couple in person, not NHRA sanctioned, but like jet car races, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you don't get to see it on TV, but when you're there in person, it's pretty cool. And you can feel it a lot more just because it's, like Colton said, it's different. The cars there, you can't really compare any form of circuit racing to them.
So if you have never, if anyone listening has never been to an NHRA race, I went a few years ago to the Mile High Nationals up at Bandimere, and there are concrete steps leading up the side of the hill. That's the stands. And my beer was sitting on a concrete step, and when the Top Fuels would launch, it would shake beer out of my cup. They're so loud.
Jesus.
Yeah, I got a fun story about the NHRA. If you've ever heard of a guy named Joe Amato, I think he was like one of the first guys to reach speed records with Top Fuel and all that kind of stuff. My grandpa is a personal trainer, and he was actually one of his clients for the longest time when he was in the NHRA. And he also mentioned stuff like their necks had a lot of stress. I never realized that until he told me. He said that their stress is pretty similar to what that of like an F1 driver would go through. It's just, it's vertical. It's not side to side. So it's pretty crazy considering if you go there in person, you can see those cars launch. It's just like, it's hard to really describe it because you can see it. You can see the cars struggle to handle it, let alone the person inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah. They also have little hooks that clip to the chin on their helmet. Yeah. So that way, when they launch, their head doesn't fly back.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
I don't think
it's one of those things that I respect. It is one of those things that I'll probably enjoy if I ever do go see it live. But it is the most boring thing to me to watch on screen. Just that's it.
You guys want to know some actual good racing that doesn't seem like it'd be good racing? Check out the Tour de France. I am not shitting you. It is something all year.
I watch that race every single year. I've been watching it since I was a little kid. If I wasn't a fat little fuck, I probably would have trained to try and be in something like that.
Yeah.
I love Tour de France racing. It is so intense. It is so insane. There's 4 or 5 different championships going on at the same time. You just reminded me of something that I love and look forward to every mid-summer.
Tour de France is lit. I might do a little bit of coverage on it for the Tour de France this year.
Yeah. Shit, let's do it.
And another thing, you guys ever seen that crazy ass boat racing that they do? Not like the drag boats, but like the little course.
The one where they got the guy.
Yeah, I know.
They got co-drivers and they're like doing this to show you where to go.
Yeah,
that shit's
I don't
crazy.
know what the hell that's called, but that is some of the most entertaining stuff.
Is it like
on
an
TV.
airboat of some sort?
Yeah.
Okay, no. So they're like these super nimble little bitty boats, and they're extremely fast speed boats, and they just like cut little channels into a field, and then a co-driver gets the lane that they have to take.
Crazy.
And they time it, and they're like 45-second laps that they have to do, and the fastest boat wins.
You'll see them just cutting like this, almost like a. It's kind of like
I
a.
don't know how they're able to turn like that on a dime. I mean, the rudder must be like, or it might not be a rudder, is it? I mean, is it like an outboard motor that has?
I have no idea. It's
No
there's
idea.
Turns with it.
The
or-
rudder-
And that is the problem with our current state of motorsports coverage because we don't have Speed Channel anymore. The
Yeah.
Lucas Oil Power Hour is where we used to watch a lot
Yeah,
of
see,
that
I'm
crazy
gonna
shit.
I'm gonna get a
Tractor
little bit of
pull
flack.
and all that good stuff.
I'm gonna get a little bit of flack for saying this. I know that there was a bunch of car shows on there, like Pinks and all that kind of stuff, just to pass the time. But if we could replace some of those shows with stuff like what you guys are saying, that would be amazing.
Mav TV Plus. So I am signing up for Mav TV Plus this next weekend to watch the Chili Bowl. I will have it all year. I will be watching me some Boda.
That's what it's called, Boda.
Yeah.
We gotta Google this. Yeah.
Drew and my cousin Dustin have mentioned the swamp buggies. I do not know what that is.
Yeah,
So
I'm not really sure either, but it sounds fun.
it sounds badass.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a bunch of different motorsports out there. If there's something that you can do to make something go fast, most humans want to go faster. So, I mean, I don't know. I was watching do you guys get into the racing that happens in the Winter Olympics and the Summer Olympics, like the swimming, the running, and then the downhill snow cross and stuff? Do you guys get into that? Because I get into that.
I don't get into the summer ones as much, but like they
Right.
used to do that. I don't know if they still do like that snow cross and that ski cross.
Yeah.
Where they race like down a hill. Like
Yeah.
there's like 4 of them. That's badass. The luge a little bit. It's kind of cool. Bobsled.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that snow and that ski cross is pretty damn cool. Do you guys remember when they used to race like these little sled like things in the X Games? This was like late 90s, and I think they stopped because someone died.
No.
But yeah, it was like this little sled, and they had like a mini roll cage on it. And
Yeah, that just
all
sounds
out
like a disaster.
straight down a hill. Yeah. And like if one of them like turned even a little bit, they just start barrel rolling.
You talking
down
about
the
like
hill.
street luge racing, like on pavement?
No, it was like X Games. It was like whatever it's called that they do in Aspen. What's that mountain name? I don't remember. But yeah, it was badass. You can go look up footage of it, and they haul the mail down this hill. I
Interesting.
can see why they don't do it anymore, but man, the 90s would have been cool.
Yeah, what is it like? The Alpine? It's gonna be like, shoot, I don't. There's like theme parks that have something that's similar to that, where you like sit in this little sled with like a brake. You
Yeah.
like, ride on a hill.
Oh,
That's
like
what
the
it was.
Alpine coasters?
Yeah, it's kind of like I feel like that's what I'm thinking of every time he talks about this. I'm like, that's what it reminds me of for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. We kind of ourselves, we went off the rails a little bit. We weren't going to get into all this motorsports and other racing that wasn't really a part of our trajectory, but it was a little fun conversation we had. So after watching this show tonight, you kind of know where our 2022 goals and direction lie. So be tuned in. We've got a ton of content, a new dirt podcast, fantasy NASCAR with 2 ways to play. If you're in iRacing, we're going to have a bunch of esports stuff like we said at the top of the show. And I will remind you that our Winner of Each Day 400 race is this weekend. If you want to join us tomorrow, we will have a qualifying order selection show tomorrow for that here on the channel, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And before we go, do you guys have anything else to shout out before we hop off tonight?
No, I'm gonna go again. Check out the Chili Bowl. If you guys need help finding a stream, let me know via Twitter or Facebook. Send me a message. Send the channel a message. I will try to hunt down a stream for you if you do not want to pay for it. That will probably mean just bootlegging off someone else's account. So please be kind. But yeah, I will help you find a stream for the Chili Bowl. Other than that, I mean, we hit it all. Check out the new Dirt podcast. Again, there'll be more info coming on that. And also, Drew, our guy Drew, looked it up. He said it's ASB Sprint Boat Racing is what we were talking about. So there we
I
go.
got another one from Drew as well. He said the mozzarella sticks from Checkers and Rallies are awesome. I second that. They are really, really good. If you guys ever have Checkers or
okay.
Rallies
So
near me,
Checkers and Rallies. I do have one thing. Nathan, Myra and I have a tradition when we go down to Daytona. There is a Checkers right across the street
Yep,
from the
I know what you're
show.
talking about.
every time we get to Daytona, we go to that Checkers and we have ourselves a burger, some mozzarella sticks, and some wings.
Yeah, you know,
We've
it's weird.
got to continue that tradition for us this year because we won't be
I-
making it to the Rolex.
I had that tradition sort of. There's like a Chick-fil-A down the road, and I actually met Chris Gabehart in there a couple of years ago. There's some weird things that go on down there, but like Drew said, they are really good cheese sticks. If you ever go there, they're dirt cheap, and they give you French fries in a cup too. Like you can get like a whole cup full of fries. So like, I
And you
really
can get
can't
them
go wrong.
You
Checkers.
can get the Baconzilla fries too, so you can get bacon and
yeah.
and
They came
nacho
out with
cheese
these
on
new
them
chicken
too.
tenders too that were like super good. They're like coated in the fry seasoning.
You know what I think we should do, guys? We should do a once a month food podcast as well, just because we're all fatties.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Fan fuel.
Yeah, there you
Share
go.
recipes.
I want to
Yeah,
go
there
get
we
some
go.
chicken. I'm like, these
There
are
we
the
go.
chicken tenders of the month right here.
Might need to start a TikTok account for that.
Yeah, we should. All right.
Hell yeah.
Well, it's been good. Thanks for everybody who's been chiming in on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week at the same time, unless you're going to show up tomorrow for our show for the Winter Beach Day 400. Again, we'll have links to qualifying on Friday and the race on Saturday on the Twitter and Facebook pages, so you guys can watch our first esports event that we're sponsoring. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.